actors are coming, let me just explain very briefly what this is that we're doing. This is a selection of scenes from a movie screenplay which Stephen and I worked on some years ago now, when there was some interest in perhaps making a movie of Jim's life. Because it's a screenplay rather than a stage play, it tends to have quite a long narrative format. And we have a narrator who will be conveying in words what we would be seeing on the screen. If it were a film, there would not in fact be a narrator. And we are taking the story from the earliest part of Jim's life up to about 1940-41. There is a lot more story to tell. So don't be afraid that we're going to be here for 2 hours dramatizing the whole life. These are scenes from a screenplay, it must be understood that way. The narrator, Brian Clark, is, as your program will tell you, actually Jim Endicott's grandson, and therefore Stephen's nephew. So we have in the house, Mark will be playing James Endicott Sr., Ira Johnson playing Jim Endicott, Stephen Endicott is in the house, grandson of Jim is in the house, and I think great-grandson, great-grandchildren here too. So the room is full of Endicotts, actual and virtual. One thing the program doesn't mention, Mark, who is reading some of the roles, also directed our work this afternoon, because events like this don't just happen out of nowhere. So, we will give you some scenes from the screenplay about Jim Endicott. And I should tell you, the convention we're operating on is that when we are on, we stand. When we sit down, we've disappeared. So we'll be popping up and down. Dragonfly, scenes from a screenplay.
The year is 1925, Toronto. Jim Endicott, at the age of 27, is facing the examiners on the occasion of his ordination examination. Light shines down through stained glass windows on the heads of 4 serious men seated at a heavy table with notes in front of them. Across from them stands Jim Endicott, obviously feeling perplexed, almost angry, ready to burst out in frustration.
Why not? It's the whole aim of my life. I dare to claim it as my vocation. I truly feel that I have received a call from God to pursue this work, to go to the mission fields in China to preach His word there.
Mr. Endicott, please, conduct yourself more temperately. You're doing your case no good by these outbursts. The board understands your desire, your confidence in your call.
It's my life's work. It's what I've been preparing myself for since childhood.
Mr. Endicott.
Sir.
Admission to the ministry of Christ's gospel depends on something more and something other than a conviction of one's own fitness. If it were no more than that, there would be no ordination, no organized mission, no church. As a minister of the church, you belong to a body greater than yourself, which, while it offers to counsel and sustain you in your work, demands from you obedience and respect. It calls on you to submit yourself to its teachings in matters of doctrine and to conform yourself to its guidance on conduct. It requires your service and your loyalty to the accepted framework of the church. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir, I do. But
There is no but, Mr. Endicott. You have come here to seek ordination as a minister of the Methodist Church, the church which has been so faithfully served by the Father in whose giant steps you were started from. We are appointed by that church to satisfy ourselves of your fitness for that ministry by virtue of the orthodoxy of your faith and the probity of your character. And thus far, Mr. Endicott, we are not so satisfied.
At this point, the titles of the film Dragonfly appear. Following the titles, a series of episodes from Jim's childhood and youth illustrate the formation of his character and his early experience. 1906, China. As a boy of 7, Jim is playing with the 2 sons of the family's cook in Chengdu, where his father, James Endicott Sr., is a missionary. The cook's sons are Yang Zhong and Yang Xiao. And Together, they are playing a trick on an old Chinese painter. They have removed the ladder to the cellar of the house and are waiting to see the old man fall down through the hole. As the old painter approaches the open trapdoor, he is calling out to his workmen in Chinese.
You must paint it red! You must paint it red! You must paint it red!
The old man tumbles down into the cellar below. Attracted by the commotion, Jim's father appears and demands an explanation.
Boys! Jim! You caused this? Why did you do such a foolish thing?
It's only a joke. Dad, we're just having fun. He's only a poor old worker.
Now listen to me, Jim. Nobody is only poor, only old, only a workman. Especially not in our Christian family. Because we believe that in the eyes of God, everyone is equal. That is what we are here to teach.
Yes, but
There is no but, Jim.
1914. Jim, now a boy in his teens, is standing in a line outside the tea eating company in Toronto, waiting for temporary employment. A call comes that all the waiting men should go to another building. In the ensuing rush, Jim stumbles into and almost knocks down an older Chinese man who cannot keep up with the crowd. Running on past the old man, Jim manages to get through the gate just as the foreman is counting off the 50 people he needs to work.
48, 49, 50.
The gate closes on the old man, blocking him out. When Jim protests
Hey!
to the foreman about the old man's
Hey, listen, kid. In this life, it's every man for himself and the weakest to the wall. Besides, he's only a chink anyway. Now get on with you.
Sir, look at him. He's hungry. He's poor. Don't you have any feelings?
Listen, I don't need a troublemaker like you. If you're so keen on chinks, you don't join it.
Jim is roughly shoved out of the gate, which is locked behind him. 1918. In a little bar in France, several half-drunk, battle-stained Canadian soldiers are apparently molesting a French girl, pushing her from one to another and roughly kissing her. Jim, who has been quietly eating at a table across the room, goes over to them to intervene.
Hey, come on. Leave her alone.
It's holy, Jim. It's the Blessed Virgin. What are you going to do about it, preacher?
I am telling you to leave her alone.
Ah, hell, she likes it, don't you, darling? How about you, preacher? Do you like it too? Come on, darling, get a preach, boy.
No, stop. Just keep away from me.
Are you afraid? You're a soldier and afraid of a girl?
Oh, I'm not afraid, but I believe that impurity makes us beasts in God's eyes.
At that moment, there comes the unmistakable sound of distant artillery fire, the dull booming of explosions. All eyes look upward nervously.
Don't give us a bloody sermon, Jimmy boy, for Christ's sake. We don't need that.
1922. In a small, impoverished rural church in Saskatchewan, a handful of farmers and their families are sitting, rather dejectedly, listening to the preacher of the Sunday sermon. The booming of artillery from the previous scene is now the booming of the prairie wind. The preacher, it is the young Jim Endicott, still a probationary minister, saying,
I'm sure you don't need a young fellow still in school to come and tell you that God is stoking up the hellfire for all sinners and hanging out the flags in heaven for the righteous. Like the second coming preachers of the United States. I mean, you've got hellfire enough out in the fields under the prairie sun. And right now you'll be thankful for the grace of an irrigation scheme and the shelter of crop insurance and the justice of a fair price for your grain from the pharaohs of Egypt down in the Winnipeg grain exchange. No, our world is here today. This is the world that Jesus came to save, that we might have life and have it to the full. This is God's earth. When the farmer plows it, and sows the seed, and harvests the grain to make bread for the hungry, he is doing God's work.
as Jim comes out of the little church at the end of the service, a group of farmers accost him.
Say, could you maybe come over to the house for supper this evening? Some of us would like to talk with you. Thinking of organizing us into a cooperative wheat pool. We could use the help if a young fellow like yourself with a good voice and not afraid to say what he thinks. Folks will always give a hearing to a minister.
I'm not actually a minister yet. Not yet, but still I'd be mighty glad to. 6 o'clock.
Over this scene is heard the stern voice of the superintendent of home missions.
Mr. Endicott, this is not the first time that I have been obliged to remind you that the job of a Christian minister is strictly to preach the message of salvation and bring souls to God. It is not to involve himself in matters of politics. Numerous complaints have been made to me about the way you are conducting yourself as a probationary minister. And it will be my duty to report your behavior to the headquarters of the church in Toronto.
1925, Conference of Christian Students at the University of Toronto. An attractive and ardent young woman is addressing the delegates.
And I say that for Christians to deny the evidence of science and to insist on the necessity of believing in magic and miracles is to make the church irrelevant to modern life. Science is knowledge of the world God made. We cannot go out as missionaries and ask people to believe in things which they know are absurd.
Oh, that's right. There are some things in the creeds of the church that I would be ashamed to ask even a child to believe in. And you know what else? We cannot go out as missionaries and ask people to believe in things which they know are unjust. No, it's our job, it's our duty as missionaries to denounce the social evils wherever we see them. Otherwise, we're unworthy of our calling. I'm sorry. Please excuse my interruption. I hope that Miss Austin will forgive me and that she will have a cup of tea with me after the meeting.
As the sequence ends, we hear the voice of James Endicott Sr.
But how long have you known each other? 7 weeks.
7 weeks and 3 days.
And you've asked her to go to China with you. Are you mad? And what about Nina? You've been engaged to her for 4 years. Doesn't that mean anything? What are you going to say to Nina? Why? You're so impulsive, always so sure that you are right, no matter what anyone else may think. Can't you wait a year?
No, we can't wait a year. I've asked Mary to marry me. She's accepted. How long does it take to find out that someone is the right person for you?
No time at all. It takes a lot longer to find out that she isn't, or that you aren't the right person for her.
We are as certain as it is possible. Mary has agreed to share my life in China.
And you, Mary, do you have any idea what you're undertaking? Life in China can be hard, Mary. Hard at the best of times, heartbreaking at worst.
I'm not looking for an easy life, Dr. Endicott.
And danger. Are you ready for that? That country is in turmoil, rioting in Shanghai, British police firing on striking workers. It's a powder keg.
Jim has great faith, and I hope that I can share his strength.
Oh, Jim.